Hello, welcome to my music therapy and you mini podcast series that I'm going to be beginning with this first episode here. I hope that people out here will enjoy this. There are so many people who have no idea about music therapy and how it helps people, or maybe they don't believe that it works. I was a huge fan of the Music Therapy Talks podcast that ended back in about 2017, and ever since I've wanted to fill that void for myself and maybe a few others and make this mini podcast type series that talked about not just music therapy, but anything that involved music and mental health, music and psychology, music therapy, anything along those lines. There were so many questions and theories about topics, controversial or not, that I've had and I've always wanted someone to discuss them with, and I've never really seen them talked about or asked as much as I feel they should. And I didn't really have any like music friends or anyone who's super into psychology or anything like that, and so I haven't been able to have any nice discussions. So I guess this is kind of like a socially inept girls a way to make friends. And so to get the best of both worlds, I am creating this idea and I'm just going head first. No idea if this will be something that people enjoy, but if even one person decides to humor me, then it will be all worth it. And so for this inaugural episode, I just want to go through and talk about what exactly music therapy is and small examples of how it can help people. So to start off, I want to make sure that everyone knows that to me, music therapy isn't just its clinical use by certified music therapists. That's the most accepted form, and that setting is what most of the studies and research aim to prove work. But it's not the only form out there, and it's so much larger than that. Just listening to a song that gets you in a mood or maybe out of one is just as much a strong sense of music therapy to me as sitting in a clinic in a group session or a one-on-one with a therapist in a hospital. So some of the topics I discuss might not be on official music therapy. We will definitely get to those. But some of them might not even be about music therapy at all. That's why the title is the way it is. It's music therapy and you. If a topic is about any combination of those and I feel it's worth sparking discussion over, it can be discussed. Speaking of, if you have a topic you would like me to cover or you want to give your respectful opinion on anything I've said, feel free to leave it down below in the comments. If after the first few episodes or even just this one, you want to stay in the loop when I upload a new topic, you can subscribe and make sure you hit that bell so you don't miss an episode. Alright, now that we've gotten all the disclaimers out of the way, we can begin with the actual first episode, which is simply what is music therapy? Could anyone benefit from it? What are its different forms? My favorite textbook definition, it's long, but it's really good. It's the clinical and systematic process of intervention wherein the therapist helps the client to promote health using music experiences and the relationships that develop through them as dynamic forces of change. This is my favorite way to sum up all of music therapy in one sentence. I especially enjoy that ending about being a dynamic force of change. That's so powerful because in the end that's what music therapy is all about. That change, whether you're trying to change your outlook on life or change how you feel about yourself. So, some form of music therapy is usually the first step. If it's not sitting in front of someone who pokes and prods your brain for, about your past and about your issues, it could be just simply meditation. It could be a new daily routine or finally taking that step to start taking some medication. But what stays the same, again, is that change, that desire to want to change the way you're living for the better. And music therapy can offer people that in the only way it really knows how, and that's to affect one's ethos and to be that universal language of emotion and creativity. I know everyone has their favorite song that, when it comes on, their soul just starts dancing, and I can never keep a favorite song like that for long. I'm introduced to so much music and so many new subgenres all the time. I find a new gem and I just play it out for weeks, and then I'll find a new one and I'll just repeat. I use Spotify and they have the top songs of the year that's ending, and that's all I listen to, because I'll spend a whole year listening to my top songs of the year before, and then the next top songs will come out and I'll just listen to that for a whole year. It's really bad. Everyone has cried with Sam Smith or Adele when they're feeling emotional, and people have danced to deadmau5 and Skrillex at a rave or a party. We have songs for when we're in love, we have songs for when we're growing out of love, and we have songs for losing loved ones. When you ask most people how they cope with the day-to-day stresses or what the top 5 things you'd have on when you go to a deserted island, and at least one answer is always music. Take their headphones, take their instrument. The quote, life would be flat without music, is so much more literal than people even realize. We have thousands, if not millions, of songs for every emotion, occasion, mood setting. Oftentimes we literally think the song was written just for that situation that you find yourself listening to it in. So now I know what you're asking. What does music therapy have to do with this? Well, think of it like this. If your playlist is packed with sad songs from Adele or Sam, like we discussed earlier, chances are you aren't walking around, too happy or hyped up on life, especially if that's the only thing in your playlist. Back when I was in high school, the only thing I listened to all day, every day was heavy metal, alternative rock, Evanescence. Literally the only band I listened to, and they were amazing. Amy's voice is just so good. It's just, I walked around carrying the mindset and the emotions that she was passing through to me through her songs. And I was the token quote unquote emo kid because I just walked around so depressed. And of course, there were other reasons, but just the music part didn't help. And that is something we will be covering in a topic in one of these upcoming episodes, is about, the heavy music, the metal, the screamo, stuff like that, and its effects, and about music therapy and that. So definitely stay tuned for that. And on the token side, maybe if you just broke up with someone, instead of getting depressed, maybe you put on some Thank You Next, Margaret Grande, and you make that brave comeback. These are just the most simple forms, and we can go even deeper than that. An autistic child who has trouble focusing and learning in a traditional setting can use music therapy to help with communication and social skills to get them back into being around and growing and teaching and learning with other kids. A child with mental retardation as well, that has heard nothing but words of failure and being too dumb, can feel normal and can use music therapy as a place of enjoyment and success, because there's no true thing as wrong in music. Premature babies can benefit from drum therapy that helps to simulate mother's heartbeat to reduce stress in ICU, and even hospice centers can use music therapy to help ease the transition of life for the patient and the families. Another thing I want to touch on for one of these episodes is the stigma around volunteer music therapists. It's not terrible talk, but there's definitely a little bit of a different attitude towards them. I know that music therapy is something that you should go and be board certified for, but there's something magical about being in that hospice center and literally being the last thing that someone ever hears is your music. There is something powerful in that, and that is something that there needs to be more of, but we'll save that for another time. Moving on, we go to the elderly with Alzheimer's or dementia that can fight losing their memories by attaching them to songs or sounds. I even saw a video the other day of an old man struggling from a stroke, I think it might have been, barely able to move his body, but everyone could just see the smile as, a small little keyboard was placed into his lap. He began to play some jazz piano. His friend was on the trumpet accompanying him. He wasn't even looking at the keys. It was laying dormant in him for so long, and I could bet nothing made him happier than being able to use his piano to be able to regain the ability to move his fingers and arms. Now, most people think if you don't play the piano or the guitar, then you can't be a music therapist. And while those are the two most popular instruments to choose, and most music therapy degree programs require you to take a few lessons on both, you can be a music therapist with almost any instrument. My main is violin, but I have talked to someone who used the flute, and even read online about a student whose main was the tuba. Even a percussionist can be a music therapist. If you're a musician in any capacity and you love to help people and you enjoy psychology and mental health, then being a music therapist is a life choice that you could probably never regrets. There are so many more uses and benefits that I couldn't put them all in one episode, even if I wanted to, but we will definitely be diving into these in more detail as the series progresses. As I mentioned earlier, if you have any questions or have something you'd like for me to cover that has anything to do with music, therapy, psychology of music, anything along those lines, I'd be happy to give a look at it, and if it's good, I'll make an episode on it. You gotta give me some feedback, so let me know if this has piqued your fancy on what music therapy can do. I'll leave some links below that can take you to some articles and to the American Music Therapy Association's website so that you can continue your research. Subscribe so you don't miss an episode, give a like if you liked, and I will talk to you all back here again for episode 2.